If you've spent even a minute on Twitter, you've probably come across threads or tweet storms. Lines and lists of interconnected tweets, pieces of text with, for the most part, useful information on them. But what if I told you that there was a tweet that was basically an instruction manual on how to get rich, a step-by-step guide towards financial freedom? And what if I told you the very same tweet was written by an individual with a net worth of over $60 million? Well, that's exactly what Silicon Valley entrepreneur Naval Ravikant shared on Twitter on the 31st of May 2018, a step-by-step guide towards financial freedom called How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky. And this is not to be taken lightly. Naval is one of the most highly rated and respected VCs in the world, having invested in Uber, Twitter, and Notion, to name but a few. So let's unpack this age-old wisdom and dive right into the video. One of the biggest misconceptions out there is that rich people just get lucky. There's this perception out there that wealthy people were either born into it through inheritance or that they made even more money by just starting some venture or another. Sure, that does happen, but here's the thing. The truth is between 80 and 90% of millionaires are actually self-made. So if that's the case, the question is, how do they do it? And how, if at all, can we replicate that success? And this is exactly why Naval opens his Twitter thread with the idea of understanding wealth. And absorbing this information will honestly change the way you think about money and wealth forever. Now, at first glance, seeking wealth might seem like an obvious statement, but not if you consider that wealth is an entirely different thing to money. And as Naval constantly stresses, it's an entirely different thing to status. And this is exactly why Naval doubles down on this concept in his very first tweet. Number 1. Seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the social hierarchy. And this is the mistake most people make. They pursue money and status first. But wealth and wealth creation is an entirely different mindset altogether. As people's salaries grow and as they climb the corporate ladder, they often upgrade their lifestyles along the way, buying new cars, fancy apartments, and taking expensive vacations abroad. And this is what Naval rails against, because the end result is that they aren't really rich because they are using their money to purchase status instead of assets. And this is one of the most common themes throughout Naval's entire Twitter thread. So let's continue to unpack the rest of this powerful knowledge. Number 2, understand that ethical wealth creation is possible. If you secretly despise wealth, it will elude you. Number 3, ignore people playing status games. They gain status by attacking people playing wealth creation games. Because while pretty much everyone says they want to be rich, what they are really after is status. Here Naval is covering the idea of working hard to get the fancy job with the fancy title. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that, but doing so for Naval is a key mistake, especially if your real desire is to become rich and gain wealth. Because while pretty much everyone says they want to be rich, what they are really after is status, and they work very hard their whole life in pursuit of that goal. But in reality, they are pursuing the money and status that comes along with that job instead of pursuing wealth. Number 4, you're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business, to gain your financial freedom. Number 5, you will get rich by giving society what it wants, but does not yet know how to get at scale. In these last 2 tweets, Naval is underscoring the difference between being an employee and a business/equity owner, the latter of which is key to owning your own financial freedom, something Naval suggests you cannot possibly do by renting out your time. Of course, Naval doesn't state how you do this, as each person's path is completely different, but it requires a mindset change nonetheless, at least to begin with. And once you transition away from renting out your time, a second mindset shift needs to occur, one that identifies a need or a problem in society that only you know how to solve, and at scale. This means creating a valuable product or service and distributing it to tens of thousands of people or more. But one way to start this process is to know what industry you are really in and to know who you really are. So let's take a look at the more human side of Naval's insights. Number 6, pick an industry where you can play long-term games with long-term people. Number 7, the internet has massively broadened the possible space of careers. Most people haven't figured this out yet. Number 8, play iterated games. All the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest. Another one of the most common themes that Naval champions is the power of compound interest. So each move you make should have a compounding effect, a positive feedback loop that builds into substantial benefits over time. And this brings us on to the final 3 tweets in part 1, which are some of the most important people awareness skills you could ever possibly master. In fact, paths to wealth can be ruined in seconds if you don't pay attention to these last 3 skills. Number 9, pick business partners with high intelligence, energy, and above all, integrity. Number 10, don't partner with cynics and pessimists. Their beliefs are self-fulfilling. Number 11, learn to sell, learn to build. If you can do both, you will be unstoppable. The wealth creation in and of itself doesn't really work without the balancing forces of knowledge and accountability. And this brings us on to part 2. One of the biggest things that Naval constantly stresses is the importance of having specific knowledge on your path to becoming rich. He emphasizes that one needs to gain specific skills and knowledge while embracing accountability. Number 12, arm yourself with specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage. And with the dawn of AI, these tweets are more relevant today than ever. Number 13, specific knowledge is knowledge you cannot be trained for. If society can train you, it can train someone else and replace you. Number 14, specific knowledge is found by pursuing your genuine curiosity and passion rather than whatever is hot right now. Number 15, building specific knowledge will feel like play to you, but will look like work to others. Number 16, when specific knowledge is taught, it's through apprenticeships, not schools. And finally, on specific knowledge, number 17, specific knowledge is often highly technical or creative. It cannot be outsourced or automated. And so armed with these powerful insights on specific knowledge, you should next face accountability, or as Naval says, embrace accountability. Number 18, embrace accountability and take business risks under your own name. Society will reward you with responsibility, equity, and leverage. And this concept of accountability can be applied on a smaller scale. So for example, imagine a mechanic or a small business owner in your hometown. And let's say that this owner opens up a business under their own name, Mikey's Car Repairs, for example. So let's say Mikey provides a great service to his customers and never rips anyone off. He acts with full transparency and honesty in an industry that has plenty of people that don't. As a result, everyone in this small town would want to go to him to fix their car. His business is built on trust. And even if the worst came and he went bankrupt for reasons beyond his control, it wouldn't be long until he's back in business again. This is because Mikey has built up a reputation as an honest and fair person to repair your car. And this, according to Naval, is the benefit of embracing accountability. Number 19, the most accountable people have singular, public, and risky brands. Oprah, Trump, Kanye, Elon. Take Elon Musk, for example. If he loses all of his companies, SpaceX, Tesla, as well as all of his money, I guarantee within a matter of weeks he would be a billionaire once again, because as Naval puts it, he's embraced accountability and built his business under his own name. As a result, influential investors would literally throw him billions to beg him to go out and build him another company. And that brings us on to part 3. So far, getting rich requires the understanding of wealth, as well as the accumulation of specific knowledge and accountability. But there is a third and equally important component needed to avoid being dependent on sheer luck alone. One of the elements that Naval constantly stresses is the importance of leverage. Number 20, give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I will move the earth. Archimedes. Most people think of leverage as debt, which is a form of financial leverage, but Naval thinks about it in a very different way. As he states, fortunes require leverage. Business leverage comes from capital, people, and products with no marginal cost of replication, code, and media. For example, if you have two people, Tom and Bob, who both work 8 hours a day, but let's say Bob is working in a low leverage activity while Tom is working in a high leverage activity, they're going to produce drastically different levels of output. This is why a laborer at a construction company and the owner of the company can both work the same hours, but the owner produces way more output in the form of wealth. That's because the owner of the company is engaged in a higher leverage activity. This concept of leverage isn't just for entrepreneurs, it's also crucial for employees to understand. The closer you are to the high leverage activities within a company, the more money you can make. And according to Naval, there are 4 types of leverage: capital, labor, media, and code. He defines each form of leverage as follows. Number 22, capital means money. To raise money, apply your specific knowledge with accountability and show resulting good judgment. Number 23, labor means people working for you. It's the oldest and most fought over form of leverage. Labor leverage will impress your parents, but don't waste your time chasing it. Number 24, capital and labor are permissioned leverage. Everyone is chasing capital, but someone has to give it to you. Everyone is trying to lead, but someone has to follow you. Number 25, code and media are permissionless leverage. They're the leverage behind the newly rich. You can create software and media that works for you while you sleep. And this is the power of Naval's insights. He's speaking from experience of Silicon Valley and beyond. And so he continues. Number 26, an army of robots is freely available. It's just packed in data centers for heat and space efficiency. Use it. Number 27, if you can't code, write books and blogs, record videos and podcasts. Again, Naval speaks from direct experience. Not only is he invested in some of the most lucrative companies in the world, he's also created a significant amount of media in the forms of books, blogs, and of course his podcast. Number 28, leverage is a force multiplier for your judgment. Number 29, judgment requires experience, but can be built faster by learning foundational skills. For example, Naval often talks about doubling down on essential skills like arithmetic. In other words, foundational skills that are the most effective in your daily life. On the other side of that coin, he often talks about the inefficiencies of going to classes and paying for information that is not essential and effective. Number 30, there is no skill called business. Avoid business magazines and business classes. And this starts the final phase of Naval's powerful and insightful Twitter thread. The following tweets are self-explanatory but highly practical, and probably some of the most straight to the point advice you'll ever hear. Number 31, study microeconomics, game theory, psychology, persuasion, ethics, mathematics, and computers. Number 32, reading is faster than listening. Doing is faster than watching. Number 33, you should be too busy to do coffee while still keeping an uncluttered calendar. Number 34, set and enforce an aspirational personal hourly rate. If fixing a problem will save less than your hourly rate, ignore it. If outsourcing a task will cost less than your hourly rate, outsource it. Number 35, work as hard as you can, even though who you work with and what you work on are more important than how hard you work. Number 36, become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. Number 37, there are no get-rich-quick schemes. That's just someone else getting rich off of you. And finally, number 38, apply specific knowledge with leverage and eventually you will get what you deserve. But there's one more thing. Naval had a final tweet and message to anyone reading his Twitter thread, and it goes like so. When you're finally wealthy, you'll realize that it wasn't what you were seeking in the first place. But that's for another day. And this sums up Naval's experience. Extremely powerful and insightful, yet always grounded in reality. And it's not surprising, as Naval grew up in a poor family and he's just one of many entrepreneurs turning a disadvantage into unparalleled success. So if you like this video, be sure to check out this story. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.